Coming up, we'll be talking about wellness days and how they're not so swell for professors.
Just like students, restaurants come and go in the city of Stillwater pretty frequently. I took a look at some of the most recent restaurant closures in Stillwater.
Also coming up, I'm going to ask the question, is this what you voted for?
All this and more on News OSU.
Hello and welcome to News OSU for Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. I'm Caitlin Seiler. Thank you for joining us. We begin in our second year of COVID-19 and taking a step toward normalcy.
Oklahomans to know that we are getting our state agencies prepared. We are praying and hoping for the best, but at the same time, we are making sure our state agencies are ready to serve all 4 million Oklahomans.
Nearly 1 year ago on March 6th, the first reported COVID-19 case was in the state and the world felt like it had stopped. Governor Kevin Stitt declared a state of emergency and a shutdown of non-essential businesses shortly after. Almost 1 year and over 400,000 cases later, the Oklahoma State Department of Health has announced that the state has entered Phase 3 of its COVID vaccination eligibility. Phases 1 and 2 have administered over 1 million Oklahomans with at least the first round of the COVID-19 vaccine. Phase 3 would include an additional 2.5 million Oklahomans to receive the vaccine. The individuals would include teachers, administrative staff, and college-age students. Oklahoma State University Health Services is offering COVID vaccinations here on campus. Students can visit the UHS website at uhs.okstate.edu to schedule their COVID vaccination appointment. With the increase in vaccinations across the U.S., certain states like Texas and Mississippi have lifted their statewide mask mandates. Right here in Stillwater, a mask mandate was introduced nearly a year ago in July. After an entire year of COVID, the city is looking at possibly the final few moments of a mask mandate as vaccinations become more accessible. Maggie Burke has the story.
Next week will be 1 year since Stillwater's first state of emergency was signed due to the first case of COVID-19 in Payne County. Mayor Will Joyce recently signed another proclamation for a continued state of emergency 1 year later.
Our first emergency declaration, I think, was March 15th. At that point, I think if you would have asked me where we're going to be in a year, I don't think I would have any accurately guessed that we'd be here when we were looking at this then. I maybe naively, maybe just hopefully, we're looking at this as a much shorter term sort of an issue.
The state of emergency allows for the city to receive funds to aid in struggles brought by the pandemic, as well as helping with awareness and caution. The mask mandate was extended until May 25th by the City Council. However, Mayor Joyce thinks that the chances of the mask mandate being lifted sooner than that are higher than the chances of the mandate being extended further. Stillwater faces many changes in a year due to students coming and going. This was a huge challenge going from summer to fall as well as winter break. Stillwater citizens were nervous for these changes.
It's a hard situation no matter what when your population doubles over time and not really knowing what to expect week by week. And I think Stillwater in general did a great job bringing students back and making sure people were tested, that were living on campus and the athletes were tested.
Mayor Joyce says that vaccine distribution seems to be on track, and he is hopeful that Stillwater remains efficient in the distribution process. For News OSU, I'm Maggie Burke.
With the cancellation of spring break, Oklahoma State has offered wellness days for its students. So far, 2 of the 3 days have occurred, but while students are getting their mental health in check, faculty at Oklahoma State have faced a different impact of these wellness days. David Moore spoke with students and faculty about these wellness days.
For one group, wellness days can be described as just what the doctor ordered.
Relief.
Unpaid day off. Fantastic.
The opposite can be said for those on the other end of the classroom.
Inconvenient.
OSU students took Thursday off as the university reached its second of 3 wellness days this spring semester. The 3 days off were first announced by University President Burns Hargis in December. The 2021 spring calendar has the 3 days of no classes in place as spring break to try and prevent student travel. Hargis described the occasions as an opportunity for students to recharge their batteries. OSU student Nick Williams says the extra day off gives him the chance to catch up on his workload.
Knowing I don't have to go to class or anything, I can just get up in the morning, take care of one thing, then go hang out for 2 hours and then go do some more homework and just kind of enjoy the day and also take care of little things around.
Those levels of enjoyment haven't been felt by those responsible for teaching the students. Professors' teaching schedules have been all but thrown out the window after losing nearly 2 weeks due to February's snowstorm. While students kicked back and relaxed on Thursday, it wasn't the same story for many professors, as they had to deal with the fact that they lost another day of their teaching schedule. Shane Hoffman is a media professor who has been playing catch-up all semester. He instructs multiple labs on Thursdays and says his students are getting the short end of the stick.
If I lose a day, I have to do 2 weeks worth of labs to catch up for one of these labs. And so basically one of my labs gets screwed, or multiple labs depending on the day.
The university has one wellness day remaining on the schedule. That day will be on Tuesday, April 13th. For News OSU, I'm David Moore.
COVID-19 has hit businesses in Stillwater pretty hard. One industry that has felt the strain of the impact is restaurants around town. Stillwater has struggled to keep some restaurants afloat even before the COVID-19 pandemic. We took a closer look on what it takes for a restaurant to be successful in Stillwater.
Stillwater, Oklahoma has seen multiple restaurants come and go in the past 5 years. Franchise favorites such as Zaxby's, Pie 5, and Jack in the Box have recently closed their doors. For restaurants like Jack in the Box, a lack of business paired with the effects of COVID-19 created a recipe for disaster. Stillwater Chamber of Commerce project manager Trenton Inselman says that it takes a certain kind of restaurant to be successful in Stillwater.
The students spend all, if not more, money than they have in Stillwater, certainly eating out a lot. So it blends well to the fast casual world.
When college students come and go for winter and summer breaks, it's harder for less popular restaurants to stay afloat. This is also the reason why popular chains don't want to set up shop in Stillwater.
According to the Stillwater Chamber of Commerce, some companies wanted to open up a restaurant in Stillwater but are still waiting on the effects of the pandemic to end. Lifelong Stillwater resident Ellie Cosley says she has seen multiple restaurants come and leave Stillwater and misses a few specific restaurants.
I loved going to Aggie's Big House. It used to be downtown. It was a nice steakhouse, but I feel like it had a really good, positive family atmosphere, and I had a lot of fun there.
However, Stillwater provides a unique opportunity for non-franchise concepts. For now, many Stillwater residents eagerly await to see what new restaurants will take the place of the recent closures. For News OSU, I'm Caitlin Seiler.
As businesses close their doors, there is potential for some new brands to hit the town. We decided to see what students would want for new food places in Stillwater.
I am here at the Student Union to ask students what restaurants they want to see around Stillwater in light of the recent closures. Let's go. Okay, so tell me, what restaurants would you like to see in Stillwater and why?
So personally, I like faux noodles, and I'd really love to see faux places in Stillwater. Yeah, we have Tokyo Pot, but it's just not a faux place, you know?
Honestly, we already have everything we need up here.
No more chicken, God no.
Popeyes. More burger places.
Now for the latest from Washington. Just 2 months after elected, President Biden has signed a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill. The bill was passed in the Senate and now waits approval from the U.S. House of Representatives. If passed, the bill will also provide a $1,400 stimulus check to most Americans. It would also boost unemployment benefits until September 6th. Some individuals could see checks in the next 2 weeks, while others may not see the money until late April or early May. Checks will also begin to phase out for single filing individuals who make $75,000 and over. Biden has faced backlash from some officials in Washington for the COVID relief bill. However, some voters have expressed concerns with Biden's recent executive orders. A little more than a month into the Biden administration, many voters are wondering if they really got what they signed on for. Here is Scout Cooper with I'm Just Saying.
I gotcha! You see, because you were all excited, and then boom!
This is how some American voters are feeling a month into the Biden presidency, as many promises made during the Biden campaign have been pushed back or flat out forgotten. And it shows, as Biden currently has a 38.2 disapproval rating, according to 538, which is the second highest ever for a president on day 43, coming behind only his predecessor, President Trump. One of the biggest promises of the Biden campaign was the promise of COVID relief stimulus checks being a day one priority once Democrats controlled the Senate.
Because their election will put an end to the block in Washington on that $2,000 stimulus check. That money that will go out the door immediately.
Since then, there has been no $2,000 check, and people are still having problems getting the original $600 and $1,400 check, leaving nothing but frustration to fill their wallets.
One of the biggest issues in the last election was immigration, with 4 out of every 5 registered voters saying immigration policy was important to their decision. Biden voters were hoping he would fix the treatment of immigrants, mainly children who cross the United States southern border, and the mass deportations happening around the country, both of which Biden promised to end. Since then, the Biden administration has deported hundreds of people and reopened a holding facility in Carrizo Springs, Texas, used during previous administrations to keep kids in cages.
Suggesting that Kamala Harris said that this facility, putting people in this facility, was a human rights abuse committed by the United States government, and Joe Biden said, under Trump, there have been horrifying scenes of at the border of kids being kept in cages. Now, it's not under Trump, it's under Biden.
This is not kids being kept in cages.
If we continue to elect leaders who don't hold any of their promises or values they offer in their campaign, we're always going to have to choose between the devil we know and the devil we don't. But I'm just saying.
The Oklahoma State basketball team capped off its regular season with 2 games against AP top 10 teams. Let's remember the last 2 games were part of OSU's grueling schedule of 4 games in just 8 days. It all started last Thursday when the Cowboys traveled down to Waco to take on number 3 Baylor. The Bears had already clinched the Big 12 regular season title 2 days before, but they still had a smooth sailing performance. Jared Butler led the charge for the Bears with 22 points, while OSU freshman Cade Cunningham led all scorers with 24. Speaking of Cunningham, he left the game late in the second half after injuring his ankle and didn't play against West Virginia 2 days later. Baylor cruised by with an 81-70 win to snap the Cowboys' 5-game win streak. Now, having your win streak snapped and losing your star player must hurt, but the Cowboys weren't fazed when they headed down to Morgantown to face the 6th-ranked Mountaineers. Avery Anderson replaced Cunningham in the starting lineup against WVU in what would be a career game for the sophomore guard. Like his freshman teammate, there were many times where Anderson put the team on his back to score decisive shots. With 34 seconds left and the Cowboys up by 2, Anderson hit his biggest shot of the night to bring his total to 31 points as the Cowboys held on for the 85-80 win. Head coach Mike Boyan says Anderson may be the most improved player in the country.
An example with, our best player in Cade and our leader in Ice both out. That he just did a little bit more than he's been playing well now. I mean, he's having a really good year. But I thought today, knowing what the moment required, that he stepped up to the challenge and certainly met it.
Now, if you told me the Cowboys were going to play 4 games in 8 days against AP-ranked teams and win 3 of them, I'd tell you you're crazy. But call me crazy because that's exactly what the Cowboys did, and the team showed they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in college basketball. With their win against the Mountaineers, the Cowboys picked up the number 5 seed in the Big 12 tournament this week, and they'll have the opportunity to once again face the Mountaineers on Thursday. Whichever team wins that game will likely be facing top-seeded Baylor on Friday. Speaking of Big 12 championships, the Cowboy wrestling team struck gold in Tulsa last weekend when they won their 9th straight conference title. Now I know what you're thinking. It's terrific that the Cowboys won another Big 12 title. But is it so great when you share that title with your arch rivals? That's right, the Cowboys were co-champions with our friends down in Norman, the Oklahoma Sooners. It all came to fruition with the penultimate match of the tournament, the 197-pound finals. OSU freshman and number 1 recruit A.J. Ferrari went up against Wyoming's Stephen Buchanan. If Ferrari got the decision, the Cowboys and OU would tie, but they could win on bonus points if he got a major decision. Ferrari dominated from the start, scoring many takedowns and inching closer to bonus point territory. However, a late takedown by Buchanan cost the Cowboys the outright title as Ferrari won 13-8. It definitely had to be a bittersweet moment for Ferrari as he won the title but was so close to giving OSU the outright championship. Moving from conference titles to national championships, we're 6 days away from the NCAA Cross Country Championship. OSU has the pleasure of hosting this year's national championships at its course, which is less than 2 years old. The women's race will begin at 12:50 p.m., followed by the men's race at 1:40. And remember, the Cowboy basketball team will face West Virginia in the first round of the Big 12 tournament on Thursday. We'll have more on that and more in next week's edition of News OSU Sports.
Thanks, Joe. That's all the time we have for this week's News OSU. I'm Caitlin Seiler. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week on News OSU.